Welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, and it's week 16, Saturday afternoon. Time for the injury report. I'm going to go through every single offensive position: running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end. Then we'll run through some defensive injuries paired with O-line concerns, all the players who are out or questionable going into the weekend. Just to wrap it up, I'll give you some weather updates and some final adjustments to my picks against the spread and straight up. Let us begin. We're going to start at the running back position, where in Arizona, Bam Knight was placed on IR. So Michael Carter is definitely the RB1, but I just don't trust a single Arizona running back. You need a touchdown, and we'll get to some O-line injuries later on that team that make me really hesitant to endorse Michael Carter. In Baltimore, Justice Hill has been on IR, but there are some positive reports that he might return either next week in week 17 or in week 18 in that final game against Pittsburgh. I think Justice Hill will be back next week. In Cleveland, Dylan Sampson has been ruled out yet again. Jerome Ford is on IR, so maybe Quinshon Judkins does make the most of that opportunity. Last week, though, didn't work out. In Green Bay, by the time you're watching this, we probably know for sure, but Josh Jacobs is questionable with a knee injury. He was a game time decision, and I just checked it. He is active for this game. Next up, let's move to Houston, where Woody Marks is going to be a game time decision. Didn't practice on either Wednesday or Thursday with an ankle injury, but on Friday he was limited, and I believe he will play. Definitely optimistic about it, but not a guarantee. You need to confirm before kickoff. I think Woody Marks will be active, but if not, they do get Nick Chubb back. He was dealing with a rib injury, missed the previous game, but full in practice on Thursday and Friday. They also have Jawar Jordan, who looked pretty good last week. So good luck with Woody Marks. The matchup is pretty interesting, but he is a game time call. You need to make sure he is healthy enough to play. In Jacksonville, Bashal Tutin is out. We've expected that. He was doubtful all week, and Travis Etienne will dominate the workload, but I do expect a couple catches incoming for LaQuint Allen. In New Orleans, Alvin Kamara is not going to play. He's ruled out yet again, didn't practice at all. And I think they didn't put him on IR so that he has a chance to come back for maybe the last game of the season. Who knows? This might be Alvin Kamara's swan song in New Orleans. But Devin Neal, not going to play. He was placed on IR. And the backup is Audric Estime, but it's a bit tough to trust him. Despite the elite matchup against the Jets, I kind of feel like Taysom Hill might factor in into this backfield. Lastly, though, in Washington, Chris Rodriguez was active, but as I'm recording this, he's already playing. So that's it for running back. Now let's move on to wide receiver, where in Arizona, Marvin Harrison Jr., I believe, will play. He's expected to with a heel injury. He was limited all week in practice, and despite me still believing in Michael Wilson as the better play, I do think Harrison will be a good start in your lineup. Next up, though, in the same game, Drake London is questionable as well. Missed the last 4 weeks with a knee injury, but limited all week in practice. It is sounding very likely that London will suit up. So wish I had him last week. The team I did roster him on did get eliminated, but if you're still alive, if you have London, he is a must start if healthy. In Chicago, by the time you're watching this, the game probably kicked off, but I mentioned it throughout the week. Rome Odunze and Luther Burden were out. It made guys like DJ Moore and Colston Loveland much more appealing to start. In Cincinnati, I'm worried about T. Higgins. I know he was full in practice on Friday, but still in the concussion protocol, and it really means nothing that he was full. It's positive news. It's definitely more likely that he's available, but he's a true game time decision. If he does not clear the concussion protocol by the morning of the game, then I don't believe he will play. He had what felt like 2 concussions a couple weeks ago against the Bills. So if he's inactive, I'd be worried about Joe Burrow, but obviously if healthy, you would trust that passing game a lot more. So not quite sure if he's inactive. I think the only player that would benefit is Mike Gesicki. Chase Brown will catch a couple more receptions, but he was already going to get 5+ targets. In Green Bay, Christian Watson was a game time decision as well, and he was deemed active, like I told you. On the live stream earlier today, I did operate as if Watson would be healthy. He was ruled active for this game. So I told you to start Watson. I had him as a top 20 play. Let's hope that works out. By the time you watch this, you might know if that was a good call or not. But in Houston, Christian Kirk is a game time decision, didn't practice at all on Friday, dealing with an illness, and perhaps that might open the door for the rookies Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll. Really, it's Jaden Higgins who you might be interested in, but Knoll would be the slot receiver if Kirk is out. In Kansas City, it's official. Rashee Rice is out with a concussion, so can't start him. I was feeling like he wasn't going to play. Early in the week, it seemed very unlikely. And with Minshew, he already was a tougher start. But his backup receiver, Tyquan Thornton, also out with a concussion, so maybe Xavier Worthy or Hollywood Brown pique your interest. But if you don't have Travis Kelce, I'm not willing to trust a Chiefs receiver with Gardner Minshew. In LA, the Chargers might be getting Quentin Johnston back, definitely a key piece for their passing game, and a great matchup. I think QJ would have high upside in this game against the Cowboys. I think he'll play. He missed last week with a groin injury that cropped up late in the week. This week, he was limited all 3 sessions. All throughout the week, he was practicing, and I think he'll be available on Sunday. Got to confirm if he's active, then starting Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen is much more tricky, but I do think Quentin Johnston will be on the field. And that helps the Chargers, but muddies the waters for fantasy. In New Orleans, Devon Vele is on IR, so the backup Mason Tipton probably gets a bump in value, but he barely factored in, and during practice, he missed Thursday and Friday with an illness. So really, if you're looking to any other pass catcher, it would be Juwan Johnson, and maybe Kevin Austin Jr., the third string receiver, does factor in a little bit extra. But not enough to start. I'm only trusting Olave and Juwan Johnson. However, in New York, the Jets are going to be without Garrett Wilson, not just this week, but for the rest of the year. It's confirmed he's staying on IR. So A.D. Mitchell, probably the more valuable of the Jets receivers. Always tricky to trust, though, with that backup quarterback. Not ideal in New York. But last player to mention is in San Francisco. Ricky Pearsall is not expected to play. Didn't practice at all on Thursday or Friday. Cropped up with a knee injury and an ankle injury. So he's been very injury prone this season. I think they'll hold him out. I think they can beat Old Man Rivers without him. Ricky Pearsall is not expected to play on Monday. So that's it for receiver. Now let's pivot to quarterback, where I did mention this briefly in the rankings video posted Friday evening. We got Anthony Richardson back at practice, but not expected to play. Rivers gets the start on Monday night, but perhaps in the final game of the season, we might see Richardson on the field. Patrick Mahomes is on IR. Hopefully he's back for week 1 next year, but that's not a guarantee. We're going to get Gardner Minshew as the quarterback in Kansas City. In New York, the Jets are sticking with Brady Cook, but Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields were limited in practice this week. It looks like Fields is still week to week. I think he's not available, but Tyrod will operate as the backup. I think he'll be at least available if Brady Cook goes down. But Jaden Daniels was ruled out by the time you're watching this. Mariota also went down. Josh Johnson is currently taking snaps for the Commanders. At tight end, we also mentioned this in yesterday's video, but a reminder if you missed it, Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears is active for that game, but by the time you watch this, I believe it will have already kicked off. And then Noah Fant in Cincinnati is out, so maybe Mike Gesicki is a little safer, but still crowded, not easy to trust him. And then in Cleveland, David Njoku is out, so Harold Fannin becomes a great start. The volume has been elite last couple games, while Njoku has been hurt. Last player to mention is Gunnar Helm, the rookie tight end in Tennessee. He is questionable with a toe injury, but on Friday he was full in practice and he is fully expected to suit up. He is the main target alongside Chigokonkwo for the Titans. So a relevant player, but nobody rosters him. Sadly, no one is bold enough to start Gunnar Helm in fantasy. Very low rostership on Gunnar Helm. That's it for all the offensive players that are relevant in fantasy. So if you would like to move ahead to weather updates, you can use the timestamps. But I also find that defensive injuries and especially offensive line players that are missing also impact how the game goes. Let's run through the league in that respect. Offensive line and defense. Let's start in Arizona, where left tackle Paris Johnson is out. So is left guard Evan Brown, and their right guard Will Hernandez has been on IR for a couple weeks. So that's one reason why I don't trust Michael Carter on top of the lack of efficiency there. They're going to be even worse at running the ball. I'm not going to trust Michael Carter with these O-line injuries. But on defense, cornerback Max Melton, a good player, is out. And so is strong safety Jalen Thompson. So their secondary is pretty banged up. They've been very depleted. Over the last 3 weeks, Arizona has a gauntlet of injuries. There's also linebacker Cody Simon, questionable. I wouldn't trust any defense from Arizona this week. For the Atlanta Falcons, their cornerback Mike Hughes is out for this game. And defensive end Zach Harrison was placed on IR. But defensive end Brandon Dorlus is questionable. Alongside linebacker James Pierce Jr., the rookie, is also questionable for this game. In Baltimore, cornerback Chidobe Awuzie is doubtful, but he's not quite the starter, so that probably isn't the end of the world. Strong safety Kyle Hamilton is questionable as well. And then nose tackle John Jenkins is questionable alongside left tackle Ronnie Stanley. So on defense, the tackle is questionable, so is the left tackle on offense. In Buffalo, their defensive tackle Jordan Phillips is out, and then cornerback Cam Lewis is questionable as well. In Carolina, defensive tackle Tershawn Wharton is out. Linebacker Trevin Wallace is also out. And then on offense, their O-line is missing right guard Chandler Zavala. He was placed on IR. Alongside left tackle Ikem Ekwonu, he is questionable, a game time decision. In Chicago, we got linebacker Amen Ogbom Bamiga, who is out for this game. Shout out Ogbong Bamiga. Anyone who's got the name Bong in their name deserves this drop. So cheers to you, buddy. I hope you get healthy for next year. However, some positive news. Linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, who's been on IR, is expected to return. They have activated him for this game. In Cincinnati, defensive end Joseph Asai is out alongside defensive tackle BJ Hill, who is questionable. They also have defensive tackle Chris Jenkins on IR, so defensive line is a concern for the Bengals this week. And then in the secondary, cornerback DJ Turner is questionable as well. In Cleveland, they're missing cornerback Denzel Ward. One of their better players in the secondary is out. And then linebacker Winston Reed is going to stay on IR. Their depth is not getting replenished this week. Defensive tackle Sam Kamara is questionable as well. And then on the offensive line, tackle Jack Conklin is out with a concussion. And guard Wyatt Teller is questionable. He's a game time decision. I think he'll play, not a guarantee. In Dallas, left tackle Tyler Guyton is out for the second week in a row. That was a problem for them last week. And then defensive tackle Quinnen Williams is questionable as well. Their cornerback Kalen Carson is also questionable. And then safety Wanye Thomas was placed on IR. He is out for the year. Their cornerback Deron Bland was also placed on IR. However, they are getting back cornerback Josh Butler. He is returning. They're also activating cornerback Trayvon Diggs. So despite some positive news, some players coming back, they're also missing some new pieces. They just can't stay healthy on defense. In Denver, linebacker Justin Sternad has been ruled out. However, it looks like they're getting back linebacker Kareem Reed. He's been on IR and he was full in practice. He is going to play against the Jaguars. In Detroit, left tackle Taylor Decker is questionable again. He's been on the injury report for like months now, and he always plays through it. I'm expecting Taylor Decker to be just fine. But center Graham Glasgow is also questionable. I think he will play as well. On defense, free safety Kirby Joseph is out again. He's missed a lot of time this season. And then the nickel corner Amik Robertson is questionable, along with strong safety Brian Branch. He's been placed on IR. So some key pieces in the secondary, once again, are missing. In Green Bay, we got right tackle Zach Tom, who's questionable, but I expect him to play. Defensive end Kingsley Inagbare is questionable as well. And strong safety Evan Williams is also questionable. In Houston, linebacker Azeez Al-Shair is questionable, and so is cornerback Derek Stingley. He may not play. That's a big deal. If he's inactive, maybe it's not as bad in the passing game, but really receiver is not a position you trust for the Raiders. So that's kind of irrelevant this week, given their opponent. And then defensive end Darrell Taylor is also on IR, but coming back. He's going to play in this game. In Indianapolis, cornerback Sauce Gardner remains out, I assume, for the rest of the year. And then cornerback Charvarius Ward had another concussion a couple weeks ago. He's on IR. We mentioned that last week. Left tackle Bernard Riemann is questionable as well. And then also on the offensive line, left guard Quentin Nelson is also a game time decision. He's questionable in this game. In Kansas City, right guard Trey Smith is coming back to the lineup. At least he is active. He's a very good offensive lineman, probably their best given who they have available. And then rookie left tackle Josh Simmons, also a good player, on IR. He was out last week on top of that. However, their backup guard and tackle Jalen Moore was ruled out, and he's a key piece because they're also missing right tackle Jawan Taylor. He's also on IR. Both tackles are missing, and the backup as well. So at least they get Trey Smith, but in general, Gardner Minshew is probably running for his life this week. And then defensive tackle Derek Nottie is out as well, along with cornerback Trent McDuffie. He's missed a couple games now. He is not going to play against the Titans. For the Las Vegas Raiders, offensive tackle Colton Miller was placed on IR earlier this week. He's out for this game and probably the season. And then their center, Jordan Meredith, is questionable as well. Some injuries on the offensive line. Their guard, Jackson Powers Johnson, has been on IR for about a month. In LA for the Chargers, their backup right tackle, Trey Pipkins, is questionable. And I think he's not going to start the game, but I think it's possible that he's at least active and maybe fills in as a rotational piece. But nose tackle Tyir Tart is questionable as well. And then on defense, free safety Elijah Molden, a good player, is questionable as well. In Miami, free safety Micah Parsons is not going to play. He's out for this game. And linebacker Jordan Brooks is also questionable. In Minnesota, their left tackle Christian Darrisaw was placed on IR. He's a good tackle, so that's a big deal. And then on the opposite side, right tackle Brian O'Neill is questionable. He's been kind of banged up all season. I believe he will play. Defensive end John Hargrave has been ruled out, though. That's the only player missing on defense. In New England, they got a bunch of injuries. Defensive end Christian Barmore is questionable. Their linebacker Harold Landry is also questionable. And their linebacker Robert Spillane has been ruled out. At corner, Carlton Davis is questionable. And then at nickel corner, they have Marcus Jones, also questionable for this game. So a lot of names that are game time decisions, but at least linebacker Spillane is not going to play. In New Orleans, their right guard Cesar Ruiz has been ruled out. And then in New York for the Giants, some consistent names, always missing time. Linebacker Kayvon Thibodeau, he's out yet again. Defensive end Raheem Nunez-Roches, out as well. And then once again, pretty much every week, linebacker Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is questionable as well. But at least that's moving in the right direction. I believe he was out last week. Now he's just questionable. For the Jets in New York, linebacker Kiko Mauigoa is out for this game again. And then the Eagles were missing right tackle Lane Johnson for this game alongside defensive end Jalen Carter as well. But that game has already taken place as I'm recording. I'm sure you knew that already. In Pittsburgh, we got left guard Isaac Siumalo, who's been ruled out. Linebacker TJ Watt, not going to play either, the second week in a row without him. And then cornerback James Pierre is also out. Linebacker Nick Herbig will miss as well. He's also ruled out for this game. In San Francisco, left guard Spencer Burford is questionable himself, alongside defensive end Sam Okwuyi-Nonu. He's questionable, and so is linebacker Tatum Bethune and cornerback Renardo Green. All four of those Niners are questionable to play. In Tampa Bay, cornerback Zion McCullum was placed on IR, and then in Tennessee, their right guard Kevin Zeitler is questionable, and then on defense, their cornerback Jalen Armour Davis is questionable again, and then two linebackers are injured. Arden Key is a game time decision, and linebacker Cedric Gray has already been ruled out. The last team to mention is Washington, who is already playing, but their left tackle Laramie Tunsil was out in this game. So that's it for all the injury updates, every single position across the league, not just on offense, but also defense. And now let's give you some weather updates where, at least for 6 of the games this week, that is not a factor at all. We have an indoor game, the Chargers and Cowboys, another indoor game, the Jets and the Saints, indoor game for the Cardinals hosting the Falcons. Also indoors with the Lions hosting the Steelers, the Texans hosting the Raiders, and then on Monday night, we're also indoors with the Colts hosting the Niners. So for the most part, weather is not a big deal, and there's no rain this week, so in general, it's not that big of a problem across the board. But let's run through the slate. These are all the weather updates where it is relevant across the NFL. In Cleveland, the Bills and Browns game is going to be 25 degrees and cloudy, but not expected to snow. 14-mile-per-hour winds. It'll be the windiest game of the week, but not high enough for me to be worried. I'm still trusting all the regular pieces I normally would. In Tennessee, the Titans are hosting the Chiefs, and that game will be 55 degrees and sunny. No weather concerns. The wind is below 10 miles per hour. In Miami, it'll be hot, 81 degrees in December. Perhaps could be a weird shock to the system for the Bengals. It'll be humid as well. I'm probably not going to care, but it is in the back of my mind. We have seen some northern teams go to Miami in 80-degree humid weather previously this season and shit the bed. It's possible the Bengals are not ready for the heat. In New York for the Giants, it's 43 degrees and sunny with 10-mile-per-hour winds. I am not concerned about the weather for the Vikings and Giants. In Carolina, it's also not a concern at all. 59 degrees and cloudy with 8-mile-per-hour gusts. The Panthers-Bucks game is pretty ideal when it comes to the forecast. In Denver, it's also pretty ideal. It'll be 54 degrees, clear skies, 2-mile-per-hour winds, nothing to worry about. And then in Baltimore, the Patriots are coming to town, and it'll be 37 degrees and clear skies, 8 miles per hour, nothing to worry about either. So that's it for all of the injury updates. And the last piece of information is my updates to my picks against the spread. I'm not going to change anything in terms of my picks straight up. I'm sticking with the Dolphins. Feels a little bit weird, but let's go Quinn Ewers. I got a bad feeling about the Bengals, and I'm not going to flip-flop on this matchup. All my win-loss picks stay the same, but against the spread, we did get a chance not to push with the Lions. The line was -7 back on Monday, and now it is down to -6.5. So I think they're going to win by well over a touchdown, but if it's exactly 7 points, let's take the win instead of the push. Let's take the better line. I'll happily go -6.5 with Detroit. But otherwise, I'm staying put. All of my picks have either stayed the same in terms of the line or gotten tougher. There are a couple of these. I got the best number on the week. Like that Titans pick is down to less than a field goal. The Titans are still dogs, but only by 2.5, not 3.5. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I will be posting my running back and receiver rankings before Sunday morning. So if you don't want to miss out, ring that notification bell. It will be posted late. Perhaps you'll be sleeping, but it will at least be available when you wake up. I'm going to try and go live as long as I'm not too tired in the morning. I plan to go live before kickoff, and I will see you then if you're interested. Peace out. Good luck. I hope you get the win. Let's all advance to that championship round. Good luck. I'll see you next time. I'm Adam Riancho, and thanks for watching. Nice and blunt.